What I want to talk about now is what's happening to the Muslim community, because Mohammed Asif is with us. He's a campaigner for human rights and social justice. He's also director of the Afghan Human Rights Foundation. Mohammed, you're very welcome to the programme this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Can you just outline for me the experiences, the fears of people across the community, particularly in areas where mosques and businesses have been attacked? Because there has been a lot of this over the past few days. I know in my own backyard, I'm from Northern Ireland, in Belfast this has happened, but it's happened in many parts of England as well.
I mean, firstly, it's very, very sad, to see in 21st century, in 2024, people writing, going around looking for Muslims or black person or brown person, an asylum seeker, and try to find them and assault them, and in some cases stab them and hurt them. It's really, really sad. I've been receiving, even just an hour ago, a friend of mine, we're lucky enough, we're in Scotland. Scotland, I mean, it's not immune, but in Scotland, we have a system, where people understand, people coexist with each other. And I got a friend, who called me that, is it possible to travel from one end to the other end? And you don't know what to tell them, especially to the women, who are wearing hijab. And I am really sick, to see this in the name of that we want our country back. If you want your country back, no one has taken away your country from you. The shops got nothing to do with the country. You're looting shops, businesses, assaulting, innocent people in this country, rampaging everything that you find in your way, attacking the police, hurting the police, hurting the people, who are going around their daily life. And it's really, really sad and sickening.
Are you encouraged, Mohammed, by the support and practical help that has been given, not just within the Muslim community, but from people like local tradesmen, for example, building that mosque wall after the attack, people who are non-Muslims who are helping? Because there is, of course, this whole idea and a question about social cohesion. Do you think that exists in our country? Have you seen examples of it?
It does. The majority of this country are good people. There's no doubt about it. I mean, strangers who came to the rescue of mosque, tried to build, bricklayers, people, who got nothing to do with the mosque, who haven't been to the mosque, and they were there. They're the real community. The thugs who travel from other parts of, England and other places and travel, to cause problem in the name of the three victims. My thoughts and prayers, we were the first one to condemn and send our condolences to the three little girls, innocent girls who were killed. And then using that particular issue in attacking other communities is just unacceptable.
And the people who are rioting, for example, and some who are protesting peacefully as well, they have concerns not just about what happened in Southport, but they have lots of other concerns as well. I wonder if you, as a Muslim community leader, have had any engagement with people who say they're worried about immigration, about growing Muslim communities, for example, in some areas. Have you spoken to those people? Have you tried to have a dialogue?
Yeah, we are always open to debate,
Have you had those discussions?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do it almost on a daily basis. I'm a campaigner and I meet people from different walks of life. I mean, there should be a legitimate debate on immigration and asylum. Every country has their own right, who comes in and who go in. But the buck lies with the British government, because if we look at the history of asylum seekers and refugees, Britain is responsible, like in my country. They were involved in my country for 21 years in Afghanistan. At the end of the day, they re-empowered the barbarians, the Taliban, and run away. In Iraq is the same, in Syria, in Libya, in Yemen, in Sudan, currently in Gaza. I mean, Britain should take moral responsibility, but there should be a fair and just system for asylum and immigration. It's not like millions of people are coming to this country, but to exploit the situation, pretending, that Britain is invaded by refugees or by asylum seekers, and then you go on and loot businesses, burn businesses, attack the police officers, attack the mosques, churches, whatever is coming in your way. That's unacceptable.
And we have seen in recent, I mean, certainly the last week or so, we have seen a number. You must be very dismayed, I'm sure, to see Muslims riot. Some Muslims rioting. We saw that clip of the Sky reporter a minute ago. Actually, can we just play that again and just get Mohammed's reaction to that, if we could? Just this is a Sky News reporter a little bit earlier on.
Community leaders have been speaking to the police as well, because...
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Right, I think, apologies for the language you're hearing, but a sense of I think you can there.
Yeah, Katie, I think Becky, I apologise. We need to leave you there, and Becky, we'll have security there, and we will leave that. And I apologise once again for the language there.
Mohammed, what's your reaction to that clip?
I mean, my reaction to any writing, anything which is against the rule of law, in this country should be condemned and should be dealt, fairly and justly. Whether they're Muslims, they're Jews, they're the white people or the brown people or the black people, the law should apply equally. No one is above the law. Whether they're Muslims writing, they should be dealt with, with the force of law.
Because I'm sure, I think what a lot of people have been frustrated about, certainly our viewers and listeners here at this station, Mohammed, has been, Keir Starmer's talking about what's happened in the last few days. What he often hasn't talked about is there were, I'm not holding you responsible for this at all, of course not, that would be ridiculous, but there were some Muslims rioting in Leeds surrounding police stations after the Manchester Airport incident, videos online of some men on the streets with weapons, for example. I mean, how do you react to that?
I mean, as I said, anyone who goes against the rule of law, against the rule, which is there, and writing illegally, the harassing individuals or the citizens of this country. Muslims are not immune from prosecution or from the rule of law in this country. But what we have millions of people protesting for Gaza. We haven't seen any protests from Gaza, who's going on a different direction, looting, burning businesses,
we
attacking
certainly
the
have
police.
seen people.
We haven't.
I mean, we have seen pro-Palestinian protesters who have broken the law. There's no doubt about that.
Breaking the law is on this stage and this level that you are looking for a particular member of a community, for running around to find a Muslim or to find a mosque, or to find a hotel where asylum seekers and refugees are housed, that itself is a huge, huge crime. I haven't seen any protests on Palestinian protests or in Scotland, the Independence March or any other marches, the war against Iraq, the war against Afghanistan. We haven't seen any protester, running around, looking for particular community.
We've certainly seen people. Okay, Mohammed. I mean, we've seen a number of people breaking the law and attacking the police in regard to pro-Palestinian protests, certainly. But let's just park that for a second. I wonder how we get past this. I wonder how we can make community relations better. Do they have to be built in the first place? I mean, some places don't seem to have community relations. There don't seem to be social cohesion. And I just wonder, I mean, presumably you're urging Muslims and others not to take part in protests and riots, for example.
I mean, it's, in Scotland, we speak to each other. Scotland is one of the best examples. We are engaging with different communities, whether it is the indigenous Scottish population or whether it's other communities. We have that sort of understanding. We respect each other. Unless we respect each other and we do not cross, your limit and my limit, then that's how, it is easy to start a negotiation, to understand, rather than burning my business. You come and speak to me, I come and speak to you. The other example was the mosque the other day, distributing food, to the protesters, and people came together. And I think it's not difficult, but we have the politicians in this country, especially the Tories, from Rishi Sunak to Swala Braverman, to Priti Patel, and then we have the millionaire Tommy Robinson, who doesn't work, who had no work history other than criminal history in this country. Then asking people for donation and then instigating all this, and also Nigel Farage.
You mentioned people that you certainly don't like their influence, and one influence, I think, on some of these rioters will be extremist Muslim Islamist influence. What do you make of that, and how can we target that?
I mean, as I said, the law should be applied equally to whether you are Muslim, whether you are Hindu, you are Jews.
I know what you mean, and you've made that point, Mohammed. But what can community leaders like you do to stop Islamists influencing or controlling any of these kind of situations?
I do not know the specific cases, but all I'm saying is we engage in conversation with different groups, different backgrounds, different people in Scotland, and that should be done across the country. Scotland is a leading example, for many different things, that living together with your neighbor. If your neighbor is a nasty person, your life become a misery. That's how I come to this country, I live in certain area. The first thing I did, I went to my neighbors and I introduced myself and said, this is who I am and where I come from, and this is where I live. And this is my country as much as your country or anybody else's country, because whatever happens in this country, it will affect me, my family, my children, and it's also affecting you the same way. So we have to live in coexistence, and this has to stop. I mean, this is really unbelievable that a group of people, hundreds of them or thousands of them, running around on the streets of England and Ireland, and looking for a particular community. That has to stop.
Okay, Mohammed, what I've heard a lot of, not just in the last week, but certainly over the course of the 3 years I've been presenting programmes on this station, is that there are lots of people who feel, and I'm representing, I hope, not all, but some of my viewers and listeners here when I ask this question, they feel that many Muslim men have a very negative attitude towards women. They worry that some immigrants from Muslim countries treat women badly and are a threat to British women. What would you say to that?
I mean, this is absolutely nonsense. I'm a Muslim. If I mistreat a woman, that means I mistreat my mom badly, or my wife, or my daughter. I'm a man, I'm a Muslim, and I'm proud Muslim, and I'm a man as well.
And there are some who are not as law-abiding as you. Sorry, go ahead, Mohammed.
But some men who do not treat women, fairly or justly, or who don't respect women, so they should have to think about their own mother, their own sisters, or his own wife. But that does not means that every Muslim is in the same category.
No, of course, we can't stereotype. We can't stereotype, Mohammed. But I
can find thousands of people, white people, who you can check the Home Office statistics. It tells you who abuse women, and the statistics is there, compared to whatever statistics you are proposing or saying. But if a man abuse or misuse or assault a woman, the law is there and he should be punished.
Can I just
whether we are saying Muslim or Christian or white or brown.
Okay, can I just bring you back to Islamism, which I'm sure is something you would condemn? There are real worries that Islamism has a growing influence, that there are attempts by some Islamists to take over the UK. They want things like Sharia law in the UK. What would you say to calm people's fears over that?
I mean, this is people have to understand, firstly, a lot of people come on television, no disrespect to white people, but they come on television, they talk about Sharia law, but they have no idea what the Sharia law means. There are people who are talking about Islam, but they don't have a Muslim friend. They have never read the religion of Islam. So I don't think so there are any Islamists. I only heard it from Liz Truss, and when she was in the US, she was talking in the US, there's Islamists are taking over the UK. There are Islamists who are elected to the parliament. There are British citizens who are elected to the British parliament, and the British people have voted for them. If you're referring to some of the Muslim MPs who are in the parliament, where Liz Truss was saying, and some of the far right in the US was saying, when Liz Truss was over in the US, saying that Islamists has taken the area and Rochdale was taken by Islamists. The people have voted for them. You have democracy in this country. People voted for certain individual, and I doubt it very, very much that Muslim will take over Britain. That is just insane to saying that Islamists are taking over the UK. The other day when Trump was saying, or someone in his team, that or his vice president, in fact, saying that, we have another nuclear power where the Muslims are having the nuclear weapons, referring to the Muslim MPs in Britain. This is just insane, and this is just inciting more problems and more division and more hatred between the communities, rather than speaking to each other, saying, look, who I am. I'm happy to speak to you, to speak to my neighbor, to speak to anyone across the UK. And tell them who I am, what I do, where I belong to. Yes, I'm a Muslim. I'm proud to be Muslim. I'm a proud Scots. I'm a proud immigrant in this country. I contribute to this country. I've been here for 25 years. My children are born here, brought up here. My daughters are working for NHS. They're both psychologists. And we are living here. We are contributing. The few bad apples that, some comes on television. And the worst thing with the media is they give more airtime to the people who have extreme ideas in this country. People who are, moderate, who are liberal, the Muslims who represent the true teaching of Islam. They're sidelined. The media.
You certainly haven't been sidelined today, Mohammed. We've given you your say.
No, I'm not criticizing you. I'm just
of course. Okay. We've got to leave it there. But Mohammed, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us. That's Mohammed Asif, who is a campaigner for human rights and social justice. He's director of the Afghan Human Rights Foundation.